Resident Evil is a franchise that has revolutionized the gaming industry, with the first Resident Evil game in 2002 that had set the gold standard for survival horror, establishing the mechanics of pre-rendered backgrounds, dynamic lighting, and forcing the player to think strategically about killing zombies. Resident Evil 4, on the other hand, introducing the over-the-shoulder camera, which had in turn made aiming the gun more precise and more immersive, instituting a more cinematic experience rather than the fixed camera positions in older Resident Evil games. This feature would inspire other future hit games such as The Last of Us and Gears of War, well, to name a few. I personally love this franchise. It's such an amazing yet thrilling feel of classic cheesiness and absurd horror. And while I'm personally more of a Silent Hill fan, as I was introduced to it at a ripe age of 10, I played more Resident Evil games than any of the Silent Hill games. So, yeah. But I'll prefer Silent Hill OST any day than this Resident Evil. Anyways, while the franchise right now has been racking up good over the last few years, with the recent Resident Evil 4 remake just releasing over a year ago, it hasn't always been like this. No, not really. You see, Resident Evil had its ups and downs, most notably with the original Resident Evil 4 game. Previous Resident Evil games have you contained in a small location such as, well, a mansion or the police station. However, RE4 took a rather different approach. Instead, it focused on a more action-like game, with Leon rescuing the president's daughter on an island, massacring your way through the island while exploding enemies. You know, the usual stuff. Whilst it has been widely regarded as one of the best Resident Evil games, some fans disregarded it as less scary and more action-oriented. This also did not really help with the release of RE5, when we play on a conquest to investigate a mysterious plague in Africa, fighting guerrilla style, and well, it's not really that scary compared to RE1 and RE2. This also introduced the idea of a buddy system with our AI companion Shiva. Well, while it's kinda creative, most people hated the AI and didn't enjoy the game as much as the previous Resident Evil 4. The final nail on the coffin was with Resident Evil 6, when the series took a full 180 with fans and critics alike not enjoying the game. With 2012 ending, it seemed as though Resident Evil fans were not happy with how things were with the franchise. And with other games releasing such as Amnesia, PT, Evil Within, and The Last of Us, people wanted to divert away from the franchise. Since then, Capcom went silent. For the first time in many years, Resident Evil was thought to be over. Yes, I guess the movies were still going, and some games, but for the most part, Resident Evil was thought to be gone. It was really at a low point since the disaster of Resident Evil 6. Most fans of the series would depart from the franchise, leaving Resident Evil left for dead. The E3 2016 event was an event in which game companies would showcase teasers and trailers of the latest upcoming games. For instance, God of War, Spider-Man and Battlefield 1 were all released and teased during that event. However, a mysterious game called Kitchen was to be revealed. Fans at the event were confused by the mysterious horror game, as there was no other background information arising from it, possibly being just another horror game. However, speculation arose as a possible hidden game for Silent Hill's PT or Amnesia. Suddenly, in the trailer, the big old Roman numerals 7 popped up, and Resident Evil was back! Fans around the world jumped in excitement at the return of the 7th installment of the classic franchise, presenting itself with a first-person perspective and an awfully catchy-ass theme of a darker tone of the folk song Go Tell Aunt Rhody. It has become one of the greatest moments during the events for the return of a franchise many thought was done for. Resident Evil is back, and this kickstarted the modern renaissance of the franchise. Having a smaller scale reboot with a darker and more gritty tone, fans of the series were excited to bear witness of the RE universe and what it has to offer to us. The story begins with our wife, whom we've assumed to be dead for the last 3 years, oddly familiar to another game protagonist. Anyways, the video seemed to be a distress message to us. We then traveled to the state of Louisiana to visit our late wife's family. Now, first I would like to admire the graphics. Like, it's super duper realistic. This is all thanks to the new engine, aka the RE engine. This is the newest engine technology that has been developed ever since the release of Resident Evil 4, whilst also introducing the same mechanics of old RE games, such as puzzle designs and combination of items, it still manages to be different in a way to make sure that older fans of the series won't feel repetitive. An example of this would be the first person perspective of the game, as it has never been done before. Mimicking the likes of PT, Amnesia and other horror games in the early 2010s, this is a big thing for Resident Evil, as this furthers the technological advancements in the gaming industry, introducing many things that are still being further developed till this day. Anyways, back to the plot of the game, we appear to visit this old house, which appears to be abandoned. Figuring our way through the house, we are delighted with a kinda delighted curry and a rather nice looking fridge. And you know what? God knows what's inside the freaking microwave. Sooner or later, we found our wife had been locked up in the basement for unknown mysterious reasons that she does not want to explain to us, obviously. Well, she's frantic, so we gave her the benefit of the doubt. Suddenly she goes missing and we are led up to a flight of stairs. We head to the bathroom to pick up a bottle of medicine. Okay, we've had enough of that. Back together. Oh god, what the fuck? That's my wife. Okay, she seems pissed. I don't know why, but she begins attacking us. So we do what any thoughtful husband will do. We kill her. Until she gets back up and throws her through a freaking wall. Yep, that actually happened. We kill her again and we use some magical liquid to heal ourselves back together. This introduces the mechanics of healing into the game. We look back and, oh, of course our wife is gone. The phone rings and some random woman starts explaining stuff to us. And what we actually learn is that we have to head to the attic.
Ethan, it's okay. It's me.
But we were of course rudely interrupted by a wife who began to... I actually can't show this on YouTube because of censorship. However, it's safe to say it involves a chainsaw, our hand, and lots of blood. Once that is over, we proceed to the attic as instructed. We eventually find a firing gun and yeah, now I can John Wick the son of a bitch. Oh shit, she still has a chainsaw. We later have a mini boss fight with our wife, shooting her multiple times in the head without any remorse or care. I must say, this is surely an interesting way of introducing the mechanics of combat into the game, by first allowing us to understand the concept of taking damage, second by introducing melee combat with an axe, and finally introducing the mechanics of aiming and firing. These three fights highlight the most important part of survival horror, which is a great way of making sure that the player understands the core mechanics of the game. It's kind of smart, and I kind of like how subtle it is. Eventually, we kill our wife, for real. I think.
Welcome to the family, son.
Now that's a feast. This is the man that hit me. This is the Baker family. From left to right, we have Grandma Baker, Lucas Baker, Jack Baker, and Marguerite Baker. This is the part where they serve you that delicious curry meal. Also, fun fact, this is the behind the scenes of this footage, which now it looks kind of funny now when you imagine this instead of this. Eventually, you manage to escape the fiasco and now you are thrown into the Baker mansion, where now you have to learn the route of the house and avoid Jack Baker. Now this is kinda cool because Jack Baker is not really a scripted event. His movements are all completely random, just that he is contained to the surrounding area to which the player is at. This is the first instance of the usage of a stalker enemy AI using the RE engine, and to be honest, it worked out great. Albeit, I really wish Jack Baker served a more prevalent presence. It was indeed super intense when he manages to spot you from a distance and chases you with his, gardening tool? I don't know what that is. Anyways, he is indeed scary, and there's much more to talk about his boss fights later on. One other cool thing I love from this game is just the simple nod of unlocking doors and backtracking. I know some players in the community hate backtracking, but the feeling of unlocking a previously locked door never fails to satisfy me. It feels as though we are progressing further and further into the game while also investigating throughout the house. It's also, in my opinion, a classic callback to the original RE1 and RE2 game. For example, we have this room of a shotgun. However, once we take it, the door behind us is locked and we are trapped inside. To get the shotgun, we need to find a broken shotgun to replace the real one. This is a neat callback and I just love how simple it is. And for newer fans, it kinda gives them a big think moment as they go, now I understand. And then they feel like the smartest person on the planet. but I really love when games do that. It requires thinking and IQ, and the sweet satisfaction of having it all work out smoothly. This, while also slowly unlocking parts of the house, gives a feeling of progress and achievement to the player. I do have to highlight the first person's perspective of the game. This will also be the first we will get to feel how tall and scary the enemies can be. The basement section of the game highlights this completely, as being the place having the most abundance of the enemies. These enemies are called the Molded, and in a way, they are a replacement to zombies in this game. However, unlike classic RE zombies, some of them have special features, which include this thrusting action to catch the player from afar, and the fact that they can spawn in from anywhere and dissolve in a matter of minutes, which makes the Molded a less predictable enemy rather than the zombies. Besides, I just love how they are designed. While being mostly black in color, it still has this texture, which gives them a more gooey-like feeling. It kinda reminds me of Venom, but specifically from the Spider-Man 3 film. Now, I would like to talk about the awesome fight we had with Jack that we had in the garage. We literally have to basically survive his insanity. It just plays out normally, shoot the guy multiple times, avoid his attack, and repeat until the process ends with either you or him dead. But in this case, there is a car that we can drive. We have to find the car keys, grab the car keys, find the car door, and get inside. And once we're in, oh yeah, now we can go GTA 5 on this dude. Like, literally, we have to ram him over multiple times in order to kill him. It's so stupid, but it's fun. I just love how absurd it is and how chaotic it really is. It really gives into the fact how different this game is compared to other RE games. Another boss fight we have with Jack is in the basement, where he holds a freaking, I'm not sure what that tool is. Scissor chainsaw? Anyways, it's complete insanity, and we have these meat bags that we can interact with to slow him down. Eventually, if we shoot him multiple times, we can, holy shit, we can have our very own chainsaw. Call me Ash from Evil Dead, cause it's on! We have a literal chainsaw deathmatch with Jack Baker. I love the change of weapons too, so that the player does not get too comfortable with holding a firearm, instead gets to use an exclusive weapon for an exclusive boss fight. I think this highlights how the brilliance of the boss fights in this section, as it's cleverly designed for the player to be on the edge of our seats while also having fun, which is something not a lot of people can say when playing a horror game, and it certainly manages to hit right whilst also being scary as hell. Now that we have escaped the main mansion, we have to travel to a nearby boathouse for the next section of the game. Now, it isn't a Resident Evil game without some sort of reference to pesky insects, and if I'm gonna be honest, I hate this. It's so annoying fighting off the flies, and shooting them feels as though we are wasting bullets since, well, they're flies. Personally, I try my best to avoid the nests until I get my hands on a flamethrower. Now I can go full mist on them, and trust me, it's so satisfying burning the hell out of these pests. Now, proceeding through the house, you'll encounter Marguerite Baker, in which you can just walk past her. Overall, nothing much. Soon she eventually catches you because, plot convenience. She throws you into this pit where you have to just shoot her while she summons her little flies at you. It's kinda easy, and finally she falls down. You think that's the end of it, but nope. You come back to the pit and oh my god, what the hell is that? It appears that she has mutated and ducked her way to escape. So you do what any rational, sensible, good thinking man would do. We hunt our mother-in-law. We found ourselves yet in another house, but this is more like a gardening house to be more exact. Anyways, the game seems to toughen you up by giving you lots and lots of stuff. And oh boy, you know you're in for one hell of a ride when this starts to happen. Now once we're inside the house, we need to explore it. Go up the stairs and oh wow, I didn't know that Mia had a sister. Yeah, we have to shoot her multiple times, and let me get this straight to you. This boss fight is straight up horrifying. Marguerite Baker has now evolved into some sort of spider-like form and has the ability to climb up walls. This makes the fight less predictable and somewhat scary from a more technical aspect, as you are not given a clear indication of her next attacks. Some might say that if you can pay close attention to the walls and noises, you can find her, but if so, it is super hard, and with you panicking, it will feel as though she's everywhere, leaving you no room to think. It would be a sin for me to forget the absolute beast of a design Marguerite Baker has. Like, you are a freaking literal spider. It's super intense when she's walking towards you. That's the stuff of nightmares, and I love this disgusting design. It's so horrific with its goo spilling everywhere and the noises that she makes. it's amazing how this boss fight area, despite being a very dark area, manages to encapsulate the fear of Marguerite Baker and how she can terrify the player. However, unlike Jack Baker's boss fight, she is more of a bullet sponge boss than anything, which means just shoot her enough times until she's dead. I really wish something unique could have come with her boss fight. I don't know, I felt it was a missed opportunity to do something cool. Maybe we could use a pesticide machine to kill her, or maybe the second phase of the boss fight could be in a corn maze and we have to use a tractor to mow her down. I don't know, I just felt as if it was a missed opportunity for something truly amazing. Finally, we kill her and she freezes up to stone like Medusa killing fashion and crumbles. We later escape the greenhouse. Ah, finally, the madhouse, here we go. This is another section of the game that I kinda dig. The antagonist here is Lucas Baker, our brother-in-law, and trust me, he's a freaking psychopath. With sword-inspired level design, you know what to expect. We've created our rig with explosives and... what the heck? Tripwire hooks? Resident Evil 4, is that you coming back from the dead? Ha! I can definitely see some RE4 inspired references here, which is something I really love. But the real kicker is this part. You see, there is a puzzle room that Lucas had set up for us that we need to solve. There's a cake, a rather handsome doll, and some rather obscure items that will need to be used. You see, the objective of the puzzle is to get a lit candlestick onto the cake. However, once you cross the hallway, a sprinkler blows out the flame. Why you don't cover the flame with your hand? Do not ask me. Anyways, it's a rather tricky puzzle. So basically, before this, there's a tape that you can watch. And no, you still have to play as the dude inside the tape. Basically, the same puzzle, but you are a different person. So you don't have any emotional connections to him. First, we need to get this key from this keg. Then we'll have to Silent Hill 2 style shove our hand down a toilet seat. Seriously,
You can use to unblock your toilet using just one hand.
Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
what we retrieved is this telescope-like instrument, which, oh no, it's dirty, what to do? So, using the brilliance of my intelligence, remember that water sprinkler I mentioned earlier? Well, we bazookan the telescope with water. Hey, now I got a clean telescope now. We use this telescope to view secret symbols displayed on the television. This will allow us to key in the right symbols to unlock the box, which contains a straw doll? We burn the straw doll to reveal a dummy finger. I don't know how that works. Now, what we have to do is that we gotta use the candle flame to burn a knot on the door, which leads to this room filled with balloons? Okay, sure, whatever, Lucas. So then we have to burn the balloons to find this one specific balloon for some reason to insert into this pipe that will blow open and stab us with this pen. I know, right, bro? We're very smart. Later, we go to the doll dude to use the grinding key, the dummy finger, and the pen, and... Okay, thank you, sure. The word loser is the answer to this lock. In this room, we find ourselves with a valve, and with that valve, we are able to stop the water sprinkler. I must say, it totally didn't take me 1 hour to figure this out on my first playthrough of the game, but I love the genius design behind this. Well, sometimes it could not make sense, like how could that balloon contain a crow pen, or why do we need to clean the telescope with water when it was already submerged in water? But aside from that, I kinda dig this puzzle and I like how it went. Coming back to us as Ethan, since we've already been spoiled by our fellow gamer, we instantly knew the cheat code and inserted the word loser straight away. Although my idiot ass almost wanted to redo the whole thing all over again at first. We later escaped the room and managed to find ourselves in the barn, where we encounter some molded enemies in which we have to later defeat. Furthering into this section, we seem to be trapped again, but instead it's a mini boss fight. In a barn fight-like style, Lucas announces our adversary using speakerphones and slowly reveals the big enemy we have to engage in a fight. Introducing this thing. Wow, it's just a molded enemy but bigger. I can't lie to you, it's kinda lame. Aside from the fact that its only unique ability is that it can puke, something like the boomer from Left 4 Dead 2. However, this puke can actually damage the player. Now, one strategy I came up with was to just ring around the structure to avoid his puke attack. Then we just shoot the guy like a bullet sponge. Nothing too fancy, and overall, I must say, it's a kinda boring fight. Furthering along, we managed to escape Lucas Baker's stress hole, and we managed to find ourselves at the docks. And here we encounter yet again more molded enemies that we have to defeat. And once we're finished with that, we enter this riverbank house, and oh my god, that's my wife, and oh, this is her sister. What a nice family reunion. Alright, she's able to make the vaccine for us, and whoa! Jack Baker, are you seriously not dead yet? Okay, this is his final form, and ultimately, whoa, it's kind of beastly. While he himself now looks like he has been fused together with the molded, his face still shows some recognition to his human form. Now we only have to defeat it, and unlike Marguerite Baker or the big molded monster from before, you can't just aimlessly shoot at him like a bullet sponge. Instead, there are eyes around his body that you gotta aim at to decrease his health, like old-fashioned Resident Evil style with weaker points to maim at. However, this is definitely tricky as he moves around a lot. I really like this boss fight, as sometimes you really struggle with finding the exact eyes to shoot at to be able to efficiently kill him, but it gets kinda easier after getting used to his movements and all. Finally, you are able to kill the guy, and like husband like wife, turns into stone. We later find ourselves escaping the madness on a boat with Mia. Soon, we bypass a gigantic ship. Okay Mia, we need some explanation of what the hell is going on. About your crazy family, what those molded things are, and what is up with everything. Oh great. We got attacked by some black stuff. Oh great. We are knocked unconscious and oh, we are Mia Winters now. And now we gotta save our husband. Now since we are a different character, all our items are now gone, leaving us empty. Now I don't really like this. Sometimes it works great, sometimes not. For example, in Bioshock, we also have to empty our inventory in a section of the game, but only for a small section. Even in the Silent Hill 2 remake, there is only a small section to empty out everything. However, for this game, this goes on for a full-blown 1 hour, and it makes the player feel sluggish. It's as if though all our ammos and items and weapons were all for nothing. Well, this is how psychology works, people. People just don't like losing progress. Anyways, into the story. Mia Winters now seems to remember some pieces of her forgotten memory. It was revealed that in the past, she was a researcher for a crime syndicate organization called The Connections, which is sort of like the descendant organization of Umbrella, the company responsible for the Spencer Mansion incident and the Raccoon City incident in 1998. It appears as though Mia was on a book tour with her company, developing a secret bioweapon called Evelyn. The girl was meant to have paranormal powers that could eradicate entire armies and cities. However, she was still a girl and desired love and parents more than anything. In a fit of rage, Evelyn seeks out to destroy the entire boat and kidnap Mia and the Bakers to become her family. In a hallucination as Ethan, we find ourselves in a memory-like state in the Baker mansion, and we had a little talk with Jack Baker, who seems normal now. It's true, Jack Baker, Margaret Baker, and well, not Lucas, were all just normal fine people one day, until the cruelty of Evelyn's powers came to them. I find it very sad that despite everything, the murders, the killings, the torture, Jack Baker seems to use the word stop instead of kill to refer to Evelyn, seeing as though Jack still believes that Evelyn can be changed and does not believe in the morality of killing. These are the last words of a good man. Mia later helps us escape, and we have to go on a kill mode on the Molded. We adventure underground to see more sinister activities from the evil syndicate of The Connections, eagerly trying to replicate the success of Umbrella. Massacring our way through the mess, there's nothing much to explain about how much fun I had easily destroying these enemies. Sooner or later, we found ourselves back in the very first house we were in the start of the game. This time, we experienced hallucinations again that now reveals that Evelyn was behind every triggering act of our wife's cruel rampage. Eventually, we find Evelyn and we inject her with the serum to stop her. And no way, it was Grandma Baker from before. And oh god, what's happening with her? That emerges from the wall to pounce at us. And like a bullet sponge, we just throw everything we have at her until she throws us outside the window. She turns into a freaking kaiju at the end, Shin Godzilla-like style, destroying stuff, and well, I think it could have been the end of the roar. All seems lost until we get a call from a smartwatch in which a gun was dropped for us to use, the Albert 01, which is a nice callback to the OG villain of the Resident Evil franchise. We used this gun to kill Evelyn for good, turning her into a stone statue, leaving her crumbling to dust. We later get saved by a group of soldiers, and no way, is that Chris Redfield? The Chris Redfield, the boulder punching dude, the main man of the franchise as a whole? This is incredible, as this finally settles in the fact that this is indeed a Resident Evil game. Well, I can agree with Ethan on this one. We get onto the helicopter and wow, our wife is there too. Yay. And well, that monologue from Ethan is so cheesy. but like Resident Evil fashion is the good kind of cheesy. And seeing the blue umbrella insignia again just makes me shiver, knowing there's more to the umbrella story than meets the eye. It's a perfect conclusion to a perfect game reboot. I can't tell you how much I really enjoyed this game. My first playthrough I had with this game was with my little brother, who was 13 at the time, and we loved the game even though it was super gory. My second playthrough, which was the playthrough recorded throughout this video, was with my dad during my Riot celebration. Overall, I just really do love this game. Even though some people didn't really like the first person perspective of the game, it is pretty much universally agreed upon that this game revived the franchise. And to be honest, I would consider this game a modern horror game classic. It will forever be a top pick for me whenever someone asks me for a horror game recommendation. Well, this is Aidencraft, and thank you for watching.